Okay, well, I think I've got a question. Oh, here we go, Stephen.
Well, one thing that struck me, and I haven't seen Reservoir Dogs yet, but how do you get an actor like Harvey Keitel to do a film first feature? Usually a lot of stars that actually don't take that kind of risk. How are you convinced?
Well, it was a situation where he read the script and he really liked it. I mean, it was literally kind of was that simple. If you're writing parts, and some filmmakers don't, because they're the characters isn't the most important thing in them. Maybe it's the visual style or whatever, and that's just fine. But with the stuff that I wrote, there's got meaty characters, all right, and actors are more or less starved for that. They want to play good roles, all right, and so when you get it to a guy like Harvey Keitel, he was like, he did Bugsy and then did our movie. All right, and he made a lot of money on Bugsy. All right, so Bugsy more or less financed him being able to do my movie. But it was literally he just responded to the script.
And he worked for scale.
Oh well, he didn't work for scale, but he worked for like a lot less than he normally works. And it was a situation as far as like why did he trust me? All right, was his philosophy. He'd worked with a lot of first-time directors who went on. Did second, third, fourth films, Ridley Scott, Martin Scorsese, James Toback, and his situation was, well, he wrote the script, he did that, all right, he did a really good job with that, so why can't he do it? Give the guy a chance. I mean, it was that simple.
Okay, I've got a question for two at the end here. Robert and Alison, both of you made pretty strong short films. How instrumental do you think that was in getting your first feature made? We'll start with Robert.
It didn't help get my movie financed, since I financed my feature, pretty much myself. But
because it cost
very little, $7,000. Okay. But where short films, and I've been making short movies. Bedhead was my short film, but I've been making short movies on home video since I was 12 or 13, for fun mostly. I'd kind of ruled out the idea of ever making it in Hollywood because I was Mexican American, I was from a very large family, I didn't have very much money to go out and make my own independent film. But so I just made movies for myself, mainly for my friends and family, on home video, editing between 2 VCRs for about 10 years, until after a while those little movies started winning film festivals. Right. And I started realizing that with all the practice I was getting, I could take on something bigger. And where all short film will really do for you is help you learn how to tell a story in a very concise way, and will give you confidence to take on something bigger. I never would have been able to make El Mariachi if I'd not been making all those other movies beforehand.
Right. So it's more the experience that was
more than anything, the experience. That's the only way you learn how to tell stories. Is you really can't learn it from school, or you really don't want to learn it from school. You learn by doing.
Okay. And, Alison?
Yeah, it was similar to, for me in some ways. The important thing about Kitchen Sink was the experience of making that film, and I made that film because I wanted to tell a story in pictures in a very sort of cinematic kind of form, and so I think that helped me a lot in making Crush, and I guess it helped to attract interest when this feature came out. As far as the funding went, the New Zealand Film Commission have funded all my films, and that because that film did well, I guess it helped to give them the confidence that that they wanted to support my first feature.
Okay. Yes.
For Mr. Gomez, how did you get the performances out of the actors that you got in your film? I mean, was it primarily plot-based or character-based? What was the process?
Well, the performances in Laws of Gravity are you have to first of all thank all the actors. I mean, we had a long rehearsal process, and that always helps. And we just we locked ourselves into a room for 4 weeks and just went over it over and over and over again until these guys, we all got it right. It was just a long process of working together and really sort of getting under the skin of all these characters. Really,
So you would say you're primarily character-based or plot-based?
Well, I think Laws of Gravity is more of a character-based film. Yeah, there isn't much of a plot. It's really just about following these guys around for their weekend in Brooklyn.
Yes?
I wonder if we could just get an across-the-board idea of what the budgets of these films are, like to see where, from country to country, how it differs what you can make a film for the first time?
Sure. We could start down at the end with Baz.
In American? I think, I'm not sure Canadian conversion, but in American about $2.5 million.
Okay. And was it privately financed?
1/3 was privately financed, and the other 2/3 was from the Film Finance Corporation.
Right.
But that was more than a struggle to get.
Yes. And we know Robert is $7,000, I believe.
Give or take $1 million or $2 million.
Yeah. And a lot of sweat.
Seven. Well, that was for the original. My original. I I had made this movie to go to Spanish video market. It was supposed to be a practice piece. I'd made a lot of short films, and I wanted to practice making a feature film in complete obscurity. So my Mexican friend and actor Carlos, we decided to make a movie. We didn't have enough money to compete with American independent movies, or so we thought. But we could compete against the Spanish action movies that they released straight to video. So we made this movie for as little as we could because we were going to dump it to video and sell it to the Spanish video market. With the money we made back from that, we were going to make 2 more. A whole trilogy of movies based on El Mariachi. And that was going to give me, without a crew, I was going to do everything myself because I wanted to learn how to make a feature film from the ground up. And with all that experience, I figured after that point, I would hide those movies, sell them to video, no one would ever see them. And then I would come and make my first American independent feature and pretend like I'd never made anything before in my life. But my plan kind of backfired, and I had edited on video. When I went to sell it to the Spanish video market, for fun, I dropped the tape off at International Creative Management, gave it to that man back there. There's the Santa Claus of young filmmakers. And he loved the tape so much, they signed me to a deal, sent the tapes all around Hollywood. Columbia Pictures signed me to a 2-year writing directing deal. And they blew my movie up to 35 millimeter. They paid for the blow up, because before it was only a film shot on 16 millimeter, which I shot everything in one take and try to make it as cheaply as possible so that I could sell it to video and make it back enough. And they paid for the film blow up, because before it only existed on home video. But that's how I got away from making it for $7,000. If I'd known all you people were going to see the movie, I would have spent a lot more, giving myself half a chance.
The budget of mine was about 2.2 New Zealand. I think that's about 1.6 or 1.5 Canadian, I think.
38 grand for Laws of Gravity.
It's about $2 million.
Yes. Ruby, can you help us with the budget? And
Yeah, it's about $800,000 US.
So still
Yeah,
pretty
it's for
cheap.
production only.
Right.
Romper Stomper was about $1.5 million Australian. I don't know what that translates to American, but $1.5 million Australian anyway.
Mine was, we made it on 1.3 million, and they gave us 200,000 more after we edited it for the sound mix and everything.
Mine was about $900,000.
Well, mine was about 300,000 American dollars.
I heard Penguins was about 1.3 million.
Canadian. So quite a range for first-time features. Any other questions from the floor right now? Yes?
Would it be less in budget if you would smoke less, fuck less, and make sex less?
I think it would probably be more expensive, actually. Okay. One question that struck me when I was thinking about when I was thinking about this panel was the first feature that you ended up making. The first feature you thought you would be making. Was there another movie you thought would be your first feature? Has anybody got an answer for that one? Was there another film you thought you were going to really
Yeah,
get out and do?
we for example, Laws of Gravity, we were raising money for another film that like needed, a real budget and all that kind of stuff, and we didn't want to sit around and wait for the money to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, at one point, Larry Myshik, my producer, said, "Well, we have $35,000. We're getting there, we're going." I said, "No, man, we'll make the movie for $35,000," and that's what we did. And we quickly wrote a script and got a bunch of good people together and made the movie.
And how much do you think it was sort of? For me, I've sort of invested through the Canadian public agency system in a lot of low-budget movies, and for me, the convincing factor was always the feeling that somebody's going to make this movie anyway, and I get that feeling from just having briefly met a few of you that you do put that out. You're going to make this movie.
Oh yeah.
Come hell or high water.
Sure, and that's still the attitude. I mean, for filmmakers to wait around for the that last $400,000 to get that last rock and roll song is ridiculous. I mean,
right.
you work with what you have.
could sing it yourself anyway,
Yes,
right?
sure. I'll do it right now.
This gentleman here.
What was the experience of filming in India like? Was it a difficult or easy kind of shoot?
I'd been there a couple times before, but being so American, it was a struggle. Some of the crew didn't speak English, and being that I was, that young, it was a little bit of a new experience for them because their directors have long white beards and the such. But once they got used to the idea of this little guy walking around, it was actually wonderful because they have this unconditional respect for a position, whether you're a doctor, teacher, whatever it is, or director. So eventually they all came around and we were working like a machine.
Is there anyone who wants to stay away from Hollywood?
That was succinct. I mean, why? Well, Robert Bergman, my partner, and I feel that we can make the kind of films we want to make the way we want to make them up here. At least that's been our experience so far. If we were down in Hollywood, we would have people ultimately telling us what to do. They would be in charge of final cut. I'm sure that other than maybe some major filmmakers, we were the only ones. I mean, it just never happens in Hollywood that you can get to make a movie the way you want to do it and be totally responsible for it. And somehow with our own little low-budget movie, we made the film we wanted to make and the way we wanted to make it. So we'll continue to do that if they let us.
Another question for Myra. I noticed you have a lot of penguins throughout the movie, so obviously you knew what you were going to call it and stick with that title. But I want to know how you came up with the title for Hurt Penguins.
Well, if you did see the film, so there's penguins are the most like human beings in terms of the bird family because they're flightless and they're sort of rooted to the ground. And so the metaphor worked with killer whales and penguins, and we like killer whales because they're nice, but they have to eat, and it makes sense if you've seen the film. So who's a good guy and who's a bad guy? And I think sometimes the distinctions are not as clear as we'd like them to be. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Did you start then with that killer whale segment and then build that into a screenplay?
No, the script was written. I knew I wanted to call it Hurt Penguins because I felt right with that title, and I did a lot of research on penguins actually, and found out a lot about how they live. And I also found out that penguins, male penguins, are the ones that brood the chicks. And often when there's a homeless chick running around, a bunch of male penguins will try to brood it, and in the process of trying to brood it will actually kill the chick, which I thought was so funny. When you have sort of male penguins trying to take care of the babies, and sort of if you've seen the film, we didn't end up putting it in the movie, but just knowing that somehow helped. It was all this penguin sort of symbolism that seemed to work for me. So, Robert and I put it into the movie and called the film Hurt Penguins.
Yes?
Well, what were the legal tie-ups in getting started? You had to form a limited partnerships. Did the lawyers take all the money before you could even get off the ground? What were the problems? Just even getting it on paper before you could raise money.
Who's the question for?
Anyone who has an experience.
Let me just say one thing about that. This movie was financed by a company like here, go make it kind of thing. I had spent 6 years hearing about this limited partnership business, all right, and reading every book about it, and you get this podiatrist and this gynecologist and this guy who owns a plumbing factory, and you put it all together, and here you go, And I didn't have the money to hire a lawyer to draw up this stuff, so no problem, we'll draw it up, no problem, but we're going to be one of the producers and blah, 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 blah. And it's just, 6 years, going into this limited partnership thing, and I never got anywhere with that. Some people do. The Coen brothers did it with Blood Simple, Sam Raimi did it with Evil Dead. I couldn't do it, all right? I couldn't do it at all right? So, it's done, but I don't know how to do it. And I tried. I read all the books. I went to the library and read how you do limited partnerships, and it was all Greek to me.
See, those guys all had lawyers in the family. That's the big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, you're 100% right.
Can we get across the board the ages of all the directors?
The ages?
Yes.
That's at their discretion.
At their discretion.
This gentleman would like to know how old you are.
Well, I'm 30 tomorrow, so.
Happy birthday.
I'm 15. I'm 24 now.
34.
29.
I'm 34 years ago.
I'm 37.
33.
29.
I just turned 22.
38.
Pecha, 39.
Okay. I have a question for Gerardo. How difficult is it from going from a documentary film you made, I think about 7 or 8 years ago, to making a first dramatic film in Cuba?
Well, it's completely different. But in Cuba, I didn't go to any film school, but I worked in about 6 films as assistant directors before making documentaries. For me, that is the best school because working as an assistant, perhaps you'll never know what to do, but you will know what you should not do, and that is very important.
Were you working with professional actors?
Yeah.
Yes?
All of them.
Yeah. Okay. And a question for Dominique. There's been quite a lot of press around the idea that French films are sort of losing their own screens in France. I'm wondering if your film's opened in France and how it's playing to French audiences.
Oh, it's a job we are doing now, so I can't speak about.
You haven't opened yet in France?
No.
No? Okay.
We finished the film 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh, so it's very fresh. So
Yeah.
this is the first time you've seen it with audiences.
It's a little baby, you know.
Yes. Stephen?
Myra mentioned that if you go to Hollywood, you get the risk of getting your films changed on you. Did anybody have any problems in raising money with the people who had the money saying, we don't like that part, take that out? Were there any battles royal with people?
I did actually.
agencies?
They first thing they suggested was that I was sacked from the film. So
Why was that?
they felt that the budget was too high for a first-time director, and then the second idea was to have an American star in the film, which was.
Who did they suggest?
We didn't actually allowed to get that far. No, I mean this was there was a rationale involved here that basically at the original budget of the film they required what they call a marquee, which is a guarantee that someone's going to come and see your film for the first 2 weeks, no matter how bad it is. And anyway, my particular piece needed an ensemble of Australian actors, and so the marquee idea was fought. What we had to do was take $2 million out of the budget to do it without the marquee. So.
You know, I think when a producer tells you that some part of the script is not well enough, I don't think you have to change the script, but you have to change the producer. It's a big work.
I'm just wondering if there's anybody on the panel that's up there did a film that's like a one-shot deal, it's a dream. I'm assuming for most people it's probably a career move and you're first as opposed to second, third, or whatever. Is there anybody who just had this idea that they absolutely had to do it and that's it, they're out of here, they don't like the industry?
I'm going into law school.
Form a limited partnership.
And then we'll talk.
You I can trust.
Is there anybody else who's got an answer for that one? Everybody wants to make another movie? And a question for Hsiao. You've had quite extensive experience in the Taiwan film industry. I'm wondering how difficult it was for you to. This is a relatively expensive film for a first feature, very high production values. How did this come together for you? Very easily?
Very difficult.
Yes.
Yeah. 在台湾现在 I speak
Chinese.
Yes, go ahead.
在台湾
You can understand.
在台湾，在80年，80年以前，台湾一年可以拍差不多250部片子，那一直到现在，台湾一年差不多只能拍10部片子。那所以像一个新导演的话，他是非常困难去拍一部电影，尤其是像80万美金对台湾的片子来讲是属于高预算的，所以是非常困难的。
It's pretty tough, actually. During the year of 1980s, Taiwan usually annually there were about 250 films made, but nowadays in 90s there's only about 10 annually, and it's pretty tough situation in terms of film business in Taiwan, and so for this you can call it a high budget film, $800,000 US. He's got a lot of pressure, actually.
Yes, and what would you attribute the drop in production to? Like, why has it gone from 250 films a year to 10 films a year?
让你解释一下为什么会从250部变成10部。
在80年以前，台湾的电影差不多都是像 just like Taiwan's movie just like Hollywood。一直到了80年之后，台湾有一个新浪潮的运动。那这个运动就是台湾的人有一个自觉，就是拍的这个电影它的这个目的跟意义是什么东西。那所以是比较追求人文精神的东西。那这个东西它就慢慢就跟这个商业的这个行为脱离了，所以慢慢就这个观众就因为他那个商业性降低了，所以观众对这个电影的那个兴趣就降低了。刚好80年那个香港的也刚好有一个新浪潮的运动。那80年的香港的新浪潮是完全是走好莱坞形式的这个电影，所以整个的这个市场完全就是被香港的电影等于是占据了。那自然的这个台湾的这个电影的年产量就降低了。
Basically, before 80s, the Taiwan films were just like Hollywood films, sort of more entertainment nature. And in 1980s, there were a lot of new Chinese directors. There was a so-called new wave trend, and a lot of famous Chinese famous directors, for instance, Hsiao-ming, Edward Yang, they were started to look back the history of Chinese and sort of wanted to reflect the contemporary Chinese culture at that moment. Somehow the film getting sort of difficult for the audiences. Of course, they were basically looking for entertainment, and so that was when all the audience almost walked away from so-called the new wave movie. But at the same time, Hong Kong, there was another trend of Hong Kong new wave, and they had different results.
Better audience.
Better audience, and they started to really act like Hollywood movies from Hong Kong. So nowadays, the case is like every week there's a new film on in each theater, but almost 95% maybe. We're all from Hong Kong, and so basically Hong Kong took the market.
Right. That's interesting. Geoffrey, maybe you could tell us what the impetus was for Romper Stomper. Pretty tough subject you're dealing with.
Precisely because it was tough, and thank you. And I thought it was the characters were based on our research. We judged them to be worthy dramatic subjects, and then it was a question of how to deal with them and the stories which emerged in our research. So one thing led to another. I thought it would be interesting and stimulating to make a film about rampaging skinheads, and it certainly proved to be that. And to me, it had all the qualities that were necessary for a good piece of drama. It was kinetic, it had characters that were fairly desperate, and it offered a lot of basis for discussion, as you mentioned in the introduction, new highs and lows. So for all of those reasons, it was done.
Right, so controversy is a sort of an asset on a first feature in terms of getting attention.
Well, yeah, I mean, some people have called the film immoral, but I'd like to be this immoral, like, permanently, actually. I think it's a good thing to do. You know, inverted commas immoral. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. Questions from the floor? Okay, Stephen?
I don't know who to address this to, but what difference does being in a festival make to your films, or does it make all the difference? I mean, could these films get an audience without a festival? Anybody want to recount what dramatic difference their film enjoyed once it entered the festival circuit? I don't know who to address it.
Go down the road here. Baz? Because you've been on the circuit for a while.
Yes, I'm really old with this. I think I'm being pushed into this. No, look, what I would say is we're in Cannes and we've just started here. We're obviously on the circuit for a while for a reason. And that reason is that the film that we made sold in every territory in the world 24 hours after the screening. So I suppose in terms of different kinds of people seeing the film, in terms of a market festival too, I mean, you know, obviously there are many different functions of the festival for a particular film. I've not made a film before. It was all a surprise to me. So, but in terms of people coming to see the film, you know, it's a joy to me that if you happen to be passing through Iceland, you can see Strictly Ballroom, you know.
You've also won a festival prize for directing at Oberhausen, or?
Sorry?
You won a prize at one of the festivals, I believe, as director. Didn't you?
Well, in Cannes, I won I can never pronounce it, but I won something at Cannes. And, you know, and we got a,
I want to bury yourself.
it's in French, and I always, anyway. No, it was the Young Jury Prize is the English translation, and a mention in the Cam d'Or, which was won by John, who isn't here. I'm not sure why.
I'm not sure either. Why don't we keep going down the road?
Oh, we're going down the road?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
This was the festival, the Telluride Film Festival, was actually the first time I had ever screened my film before an audience before. So it's wonderful to get word of mouth moving on something that, I mean, that movie was going to go to Spanish home video. No one was ever going to see that movie. And now so many people have seen it, it's almost scary and quite embarrassing. But some people who don't have distributors, sometimes that's where people will find a distributor. Someone will see the movie and decide to release it for them. And it can open a lot of doors. A lot of people will see a movie that don't have a big studio release or something like that. So you can make a movie for $7,000 and have quite a few people see it thanks to a festival.
Yeah, I'd say that going to festivals is very important for a film like Crush, because it's a film that you know, it's not like Strictly Ballroom. It's kind of got it more of a particular audience, and I think that a festival will help it to find that particular audience and to get reviews and comments and to generate a kind of word of mouth and interest in it, so that when it is released in various countries, that people have read something about it and heard about it. So it's really important.
Yeah. I mean, just basically everything's really been said. I mean, as far as festivals are going, if you don't have a distributor, festivals are great. I mean, Laws of Gravity, we premiered at the New Directors Do Films Festival in New York City, and then we got some reviews and some of the local press, and the New York Times, Vincent Canby wrote a good review, and that's what led us to distribution. But also, not to mention the fact that you get to travel to other countries, you get to go to a lot of parties, and a lot of free meals, and you get to meet all kinds of fun people. That's a big, important part of the festival circuit, I think.
Meeting other filmmakers too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of second films have come out of film festivals. Dominique?
I think it's a strange question. I'm going to speak French. I can speak English, sure, but only about torture. Pourquoi un peintre expose dans une galerie? Pourquoi un photographe publie ses photos dans un album? Pourquoi un dessinateur est publié dans les journaux et pourquoi un écrivain est vendu dans les librairies? C'est parce que soit on fait du cinéma pour tout le monde, soit on fait du home movie. Donc je pense qu'un festival, c'est normal que... Alors si la question est qu'est-ce que ça amène, évidemment que ça amène plein de choses, évidemment que ça amène... Surtout pour nous, là il n'y a que des metteurs en scène qui ont fait des premiers films. Donc forcément ces gens-là ne sont pas connus, et les films encore moins. Ou peut-être l'inverse, je sais pas. C'est sûrement l'inverse d'ailleurs. Mais évidemment, c'est peut-être pas la même chose pour Scorsese, pour Bertrand Blier en France ou pour Godard. Pour nous, il faut qu'on fasse quelque chose pour que les films soient connus. Au-delà du fait que soit ils sont bons, soit ils sont mauvais. Mais justement, le festival sert à savoir ça, parce que les gens qui font les films ne sont pas toujours, et sont rarement les premiers à savoir si le film est bon ou mauvais. C'est comme si on vous demandait est-ce que votre enfant est le plus beau du monde. Sure.
He says that he thinks it's as natural as a painter putting his painting in a gallery or a writer publishing an article. It's an opportunity to show what you've made. And he says what it brings sorry. He says that for a first film, of course, the advantage is that it's seen. It might not be seen elsewhere, but that the idea of a festival is different for someone, a first director, and it would be for Scorsese or someone like that, or Blier in France. But in general, it's just another way of having the movie that you made shown.
I can translate in French what he said.
参加影展跟电影节对我来讲，刚开始是蛮陌生的，因为我从来没想到说，拍戏要去参加影展。那5月份我去过坎城参加这个导演双周这个单元，那让我觉得去参加影展，它有一个好处就是可以增加我自己的一些见识，然后让我的影片能够让更多的人看到。当然我相信对影片是有帮助的，但是我也不是非常了解这个影展对影片的它的那个实质的意义是什么。
At the beginning, to attend sort of a film festival is quite a strange feeling for myself, as I never expect I will be in a film festival when I was produced this film. And of course, it's a nice experience that, and in May I was in France, in Cannes. That was a sort of a great experience, and you get a chance to see a lot of people and meeting a lot of different people in the industry. Of course, I think there's added value for the market in terms of marketing, but since I'm not in marketing field, I don't know what's the actual value it will brings.
You'll let us know after the festival's over. Okay.
The value of Toronto for me is not so much in regards to Romper here and now. It's what's going to happen next and what work I do in the future, because the terrific thing about festivals is that you begin to understand more about how the system of filmmaking works in various countries, and of course it's the people you come into contact with. That's the great thing for me, and that will have a direct bearing on what I do in future. So it's not so much what's happening now, it's what's going to happen next for me.
Well, it's like funny because no one had ever heard of my movie before it opened at Sundance, and Sundance like created the entire reputation that it had, and all of a sudden people heard about it and people knew about it, and Khan helped that along, and each one of them does a little bit more for it. So when it gets released, you'd heard about it if you've been following the film news. I mean, the thing that's great about it is because you get coverage by the world film press. So if you're like a film geek like me and you read Film Comment or Sight and Sound and they cover the different festivals and they go, oh, this was a neat one, this was a good one, you know, oh yeah, I want to see that when it comes out, you know, and that's, and that's what this did. The fun part about going to them is one, you get to see your film with audiences all over the world. All right, and you see how well it plays in Italy when your film is basically being paraphrased into a campfire story, in headphones, and you see how they dig it in Newfoundland, or how they dig it here, But but the fun part for me, aside from that, is also I just get to see, because I'm a film geek, so I get to go to these and I get to see all these movies. I get to see all these movies that I wouldn't see normally. And like last night I saw Savior of the Soul, the Midnight Madness. It was great. I just loved it, and I probably wouldn't see that in a theater, back home. So. No, you better believe it, man. This is a great movie. Where are they? These guys should be here.
Besides the things mentioned, I think that festivals are a kind of checks and balance system for the movie making industry. The general rule of thumb, if you spend 10 minutes talking to anybody in the industry, is that nobody knows anything, and that this is kind of their way of sitting back and going, well, let's see how it does. And then when the crowds are cheering and they line up, and when you get good reviews, they say, oh yeah, I knew that was good. And it's just a checks and balance system that lets the new people get in who aren't, don't have Arnold Schwarzenegger in their film.
Well, very briefly, I haven't had experience of watching the film with a normal audience because it hasn't been shown in my country yet, but just have the experience of film festivals in the States, Cannes. All I can say is they more or less laugh with the same stupid jokes.
This is my first festival, so this is all very new to me, and I'm really not sure. I guess after a while I'll have more of an answer. I do know that the Toronto Festival was particularly important for Robert and me because it's our home and we did the film here, and we wanted to premiere it at home. We do have distribution, so I guess our distributor is making all sorts of contacts and people are talking to him. I have no idea what's going on because every time I ask him a question he says a lot, but I walk away without an answer. So I guess I'll know, in a few days, and I know we're going to Vancouver after this, and by then I'll sort of know how to work the festivals.
Okay, we're very close to wrapping it up, but we've been joined late by Leslie Harris, who's the writer-director of Just Another Girl on the I.R.T. And I think Leslie's unique on this panel because she had absolutely no film experience from what I gather before she went ahead and made her first feature. So her very limited experience. You hadn't made another film?
Well, I actually received a grant from the American Film Institute for the script, Just Another Girl on the I.R.T., as well as support from the National Endowment for the Arts. And I had also received a fellowship from the New York State Foundation of the Arts. So I had done some film work, like I guess a lot of the other filmmakers, is when you're starting out, you need to get some experience anywhere you can, and that's what I did. And just had a passion for this project entitled Just Another Girl on the I.R.T., which is a coming-of-age story of an African-American teenager living in Brooklyn. So the screening is actually Thursday at 7 p.m.
She's going fast, huh? Going real fast.
Well, if everyone else had to divulge their budget and their age, so we'll put you on the hot seat too.
Well, we actually, Erwin and I, who's producer along with me of Just Another Girl on the I.R.T., started out, it was a really difficult process for us because at the time, no one was really interested in doing a film about a black woman. I received a lot of doors slammed in my face, and we, like I said, we started out with grants, and if it wasn't for the grants, we couldn't shoot this film. We started out little by little, receiving money for the film. There's been support from such people as like Terry McMillan, who is a well-known best-selling author, who when I had no money and we were really scuffling, she read the script through a friend of hers. I did not know her, and said, what do you need to let me help you get this film done? Also, I received support from Michael Moore, director of Roger and Me, who also felt very committed that there should be diverse perspectives in cinema. And he took a look at some of the rushes and wanted to help the film.
Okay. Great. Budget?
Well, we actually shot the film, I'd say, for, let's see, like $130,000. We got it into the can, and then Miramax came in through there. I have a distributor, it's Miramax, and they came in and helped out with the mix and some additional shooting and the blow up, because I shot in Super 16 and blowed print up to 35.
And you're how old?
I'm 30.
Okay. Did you hear that?
I wanted to ask you, how did you qualify for grants to produce your first feature with basically no experience?
Well, like I said, I do have experience. I am a graduate at Denison University. I have my BFA. I studied in film and art there. I did like a senior research project with animated films and did some other shooting, and studied in Aix-en-Provence in France during my senior year. Always loved film, and when I graduated, I worked in advertising for a while in New York, and decided that I had a passion for a project and started writing, did independent projects. Erwin and I did a film, a short entitled Little League, which is it gives a perspective of young black kids in Harlem. We also did some commercials and, low budget commercials. And so, I did have experience. And for the grants, I submitted scripts and also submitted a couple of my short films.
Okay, I'm afraid we have to wrap it up. We've gone a little long. I'm sure a few of these folks will be sticking around for individual questions if you want to grab them. Thank you all very much for coming, and I encourage you to see these films. I think they're some of the best in the festival for sure. So thank you very much.